What if a simple, unassuming object held the key to unlocking a forgotten world, a tattered recipe book, buried under dust? Carried a secret so powerful, it brought a lost culinary tradition back to life. Have you ever held something that felt alive, not because it moved, but because every line, every mark, every stain on it whispered stories? This is the story of a handwritten recipe book, forgotten in an old wooden chest, and almost thrown away as junk, but inside those fragile pages lived a piece of history. A baking tradition nearly erased by time, and the moment someone opened it, everything changed. It all began in a small cottage, just sold after the passing of an elderly woman named Eleanor Rowan, the last matriarch of a once vibrant baking family. Her granddaughter, Clara, was sorting through decades of belongings, dusty photo albums, cracked teacups, dried flowers, old letters. She almost skipped the bottom drawer of an old dresser, but something made her pull it open. Inside lay a worn cloth-covered notebook, tied with a faded ribbon. The fabric was stained with flour oil and time. The pages were yellowed and fragile, their edges curled as if they were tired from being alive for so long. On the first page, written in delicate script, were the words, "The Rowan hearth recipes to keep our story warm." Clara froze. Her grandmother used to talk about a family baking tradition she called hearth baking, a method practiced by her ancestors long before modern ovens existed. It was a craft, a ritual, a way of life. But no one in the family had baked that way in decades. This notebook was the only survivor. Clara sat on the floor, her back against the wall, and began to read. These weren't just simple lists of measurements and instructions. They were filled with notes, drawings, hand-sketched ovens, temperature markings, and even short journal entries. Some pages read like poetry: "Bread must rise with patience, like a heart learning to forgive," and another, "Never knead in anger, dough absorbs mood," and this one, "Feed the fire gently, it is a partner, not a tool." These recipes weren't just recipes. They were teachings. Then she saw a page marked with a pressed violet flower. Under it, a name: Golden Ember Loaf, baked only for milestones of love. Clara whispered the words. Her grandmother had mentioned this once: for rare, special bread baked only for engagements, births, and joyful reunions. No one alive had ever tasted it. No one alive had ever made it. Until now, Clara decided she had to try. She gathered the ingredients, followed the delicate handwriting, and lit the old brick oven behind her grandmother's house. An oven that had sat cold and unused for years, but immediately things went wrong. The dough was sticky and unmanageable. The measurements were strange, written in old-fashioned terms she didn't understand. The fire in the brick oven roared too hot, and she burned her first loaf completely black. Clara almost gave up. The task felt impossible. But then, she noticed something written on the inside cover of the book. In shaky handwriting, her grandmother had left for simple words: "Keep the fire alive." She took a deep breath. And she tried again. This time, she slowed down. She read the handwritten notes carefully, trying to feel the rhythm described in the book. She kneaded the dough with patience, not frustration. She watched the fire as though it were a living thing, a partner in her work. Hours passed, and then, a golden, sweet aroma filled the air. She opened the oven. The loaf was perfect. It was warm, golden, and seemed to glow like sunlight trapped in bread. When she took her first bite, she cried, not because of the taste, though it was incredibly soft, fragrant, and deeply comforting. She cried because she felt connected to something older than herself, a lineage reaching across generations. Clara could have kept this beautiful discovery to herself, but something inside her felt bigger than personal nostalgia. This tradition was too beautiful to die again. She began baking weekly, sharing the bread with her neighbors. Soon, people were lining up, touched not just by the amazing flavor, but by the story behind it. She started teaching the method at a local community center. Soon, children and adults were all learning to knead dough, whispering the same wisdom written in the notebook. Word spread. A local blogger wrote about it. Then a food historian visited. And then, a documentary crew wanted to tell her story. Within months, Clara opened the Hearth Revival Bakery. It wasn't a modern, commercial shop. It was warm, communal, and rooted in tradition. Every customer who came to learn or bake shared one rule: when you bake here, you bake with heart. One evening, as Clara reread the precious recipe book, she noticed a hidden pocket in the back cover she hadn't seen before. Inside was a small note, folded neatly. It was in her grandmother's handwriting. It said, "Clara, if you're reading this, then the fire is yours now." Our recipes were never meant to stay in a book. They were meant to keep people warm. Make sure they do. Clara pressed the note to her chest. In that moment, she understood everything. She wasn't just reviving a recipe. She was reviving a tradition of love. That forgotten recipe book didn't just bring back a baking method. It revived a sense of togetherness that the world desperately needed. Because sometimes, the richest treasures aren't gold or jewels. Sometimes, they're the handwritten stories we almost throw away. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it so someone else can feel this light, too. And if you want more real stories that warm the heart, hit that subscribe button. You'll love what's coming next. Thanks for watching.